had a question today about, well, not a question, but really the guy requested something and saying, well, you know, got my cable stuck in the Lazy Boy or something like that. I don't remember what happened. It's kind of like, yeah, you know, we've seen sometimes dog chews up cables, even cats sometimes. But anyway, the bottom line is this. So you, anyway, the customer said, well, you know, he suggested, why don't we talk about how to store, take care of cables type things, because he says he's never seen anyone talk about that, and he doesn't really know. He says
people don't talk about it for some reason.
Yeah, I guess not. You know, I think he might have mentioned the fact. No, it's just my line of thinking. His line of thinking was, we'll just wrap it around my hand and put it down on the on the table, and you're done. You know, I mean, you could do that if it's flexible enough.
Yeah, I don't really like doing that though, because if you coil it too tight, and then when you plug them in and straighten them out, then they always want to be all wavy and stuff.
Yeah, some of them have a memory.
Yeah,
depends on the cable. Yeah.
So I like to have them just naturally lay in like a net, whatever they want to, kind of circle.
Yeah, I tend to do that too. I tend to put it in maybe a 8 to 12 inch or whatever that is in centimeters. It's we'll have to put conversion up there on the screen, but
I have a story
about this big around.
So this was like 10 years ago or so. I was at the Apple store getting my MacBook repaired because it kept shutting off randomly. And there was a woman there that was also having an issue with one of her machines. And it was the power supply she had an issue with. The cable was frayed, and the machine was like 3 months old or something like
at the connector end?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And the genius, as they call them, at the Apple store was asking this individual, well, how do you store this cable? Right? And they have those like little tabby things that you could wrap the cable around.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
which probably makes things worse, really. But
it's possible, yeah. So she showed him how she stores it, and so she pulled the little tabs out, and it has this little the cable comes out of the brick, right, and has a little strain leaf, right, and she pulled the cable tight against the strain leaf, so it bent over.
Oh, right.
And she was wrapping it really tight around those.
I didn't even think about that.
Right. Yeah. And it was all frayed.
Right.
All the high stress points, right, where it was all bent and stuff like that, were repeatedly bent back and forth.
She's trying to make it look neat. But
yeah. And she thought that's what those were made for. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's kind of confusing because that kind of is what they're made for. But I've seen a few people do that where they pull it really tight and they wrap it around really tight.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's why they don't put those on anymore.
Yeah, that's probably the issue.
Sure.
A lot of people are doing that.
People come back.
Yeah, probably enough of a percentage where it's like, well, people don't know how to use this thing, which it's true. I mean, really, first of all, those things don't come with instructions, really. You know, so you are left to basically what would you call it? Your imagination.
You're left to figure it out,
how this thing should go together, right?
And the little tab things, they kind of explain it. That's what they're made for.
Yeah.
And she said, well, I'm taking care of my cable. I take care of it. So that's why I'm surprised this frayed so early.
It's got to be the same with like vacuum cleaners. Like I remember now most of the Dysons, all that are
they usually have
battery
cable management.
But even then though, I'm still dealing with that where I have an older vacuum or something I have that has where it coils up and down on the back side. Yeah. And in that last inch, you're trying to figure out, it's got the little notch, but where do you clip it? It always winds up right at the top or somewhere where, I don't know why that is. It's like, couldn't somebody have figured this out, that if you made this cable 3 inches longer, no matter which way you coiled it, it would give you a spot to clip it.
You would think.
It always winds up at the top. I don't even know. And I'm not really like yanking on it to try to give it the extra, but it always winds up in the wrong place. And it's like, when you think about it, it's just like piss poor engineering, because it's like you didn't try your own product. Before you decided on the length of the cord, you just didn't try looping it around just to see what would happen. And a lot of times I think that's where it winds up. It's like, it seems like a good idea at the time, and it's a very stock thing to have something like a clip or some molded part that holds the cable at the last end so that it doesn't uncoil. With headphone cables, though, we don't really have that kind of issue. I think most people are either just leaving them hang, like they're always connected, ready to go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're just sitting on the desk, plugged in all the time. So
in the one customer's case that he emailed, he said that he has children, so he tends to store his headphones out of the way so they don't get at it, which makes a lot of sense, because you don't want a 1266 to become a toy. It's not going to work too well. I don't think.
Well, we could talk about the root of the issue.
Yeah.
Right. So all cables, physical conductors, they have a finite amount of times they could bend back and forth. And generally speaking, it's quite a lot. Depends on the conductor, how it's made, what it's made out of, things like that, right?
Yeah, so to explain it, like let's say we took this superconductor HP cable, which it's pretty beefy. It's got, it'll try to keep you from bending it tightly, right?
Right.
So, and that's kind of, in a good, well-designed cable, it should do that. It should say, okay, you start to feel like tension, like going, you don't really want to go tighter than that. And it's usually a good idea with any cable design, because if you force a bend in something, chances are something's going to give over time. And the way it occurs is when it's bent in the same spot over and over again. It's got to be like the exact spot. If you bend this here 100 times and then bend it there 100 times, you're not affecting the same spot. It's always different when you bend it back and forth. So coiling the cable like this isn't breaking the cable. But when you always bend it in one spot, like say right at the connector end, right? You're always. You give that a few thousand times, let's say over the course of years, sooner or later it's going to break.
Right.
At that spot.
So that's the most common issues, of course. It's the case with pretty much any cable. It's usually right at the termination point, somewhere like here where the strain is. It's never usually in the bulk of the cable. It's always right at the ends, typically, because people hit it on things, or they always bend it, or when they're storing it, they pull it tight, and it always bends sharp right at that angle. And the bend is happening right at the same spot over and over. And that's what you want to avoid.
Yeah.
Flexing the cable, it's not an issue. You can do that a lot. As long as you don't keep the radius really super tight, you're not like jamming it or slamming it in a door or something like that. It'll last a really long time. But if you're wrapping it really tight, usually how these things end up is it'll kink right at one point, and it gets a really tight bend, and it'll degrade. And over time, if you do that over and over and over again, it'll fail.
Yeah, I mean, basically, look at it as the materials, whether it be the copper or silver, whatever the wire is. The insulation is a plastic of some sort, right? Some sort of polymer. All these things have a bit of a what you'd call a crystalline structure to them, right? And when you bend them, you're molecularly breaking down their structure. When you bend them in exactly the same spot over and over and over again, it could be a wire, it could be plastic, but I think people kind of realize that over time, if you take something and go like this, and just do that all day long, it's good. Sooner or later, something's going to give. No matter what, it doesn't matter what it is.
Well, yeah.
Your finger, whatever. you know.
Copper work hardens too, so you keep making that same spot harder and harder, and it becomes brittle and then breaks.
Yeah, right.
So, and it doesn't actually. If you really tight bends, it doesn't take much.
Right.
Just a few really tight bends, and it just breaks.
Yeah, and you can create an internal break inside with the conductor that you don't see because the insulation outside stays.
Yeah.
It still didn't break. It didn't break because it's got more flex to it. But you can actually, if you go back and forth the same spot thousands of times, that sooner or later you can just break. So anyway, that's really the main thing to look at is that, like you said, the cable ends where you're always bending it. Same with the tiny little plug ends, like for portable connectors, like a 2.5 millimeter, 3.5. I mean, people tend to have a portable, they shove it in their pocket, whatever, the cable gets smashed around the freaking thing. You know, you're always like forcing a 90 plus degree bend on it. Every cable in the planet's going to give sooner or later at that. It's over time. It's no way around it. They're just, if you made them stronger and stiffer there, the jack would break instead, right? Instead of the cable
that's
giving,
the issue.
You're going to bust the jack because now you got this much stuff sticking out the top of your portable. So it's kind of like there's no way to totally protect against this. You know, it's going to happen.
Increase the life. You can't really make it last forever. Now, if it's just sitting there, pretty much it'll last forever. But if you're using it, you're moving around, and it's always being bent over and over in the same spot, at some point it'll fatigue and fail. Now, in general, it seems these last quite a long time. You should expect out of any reasonable quality cable, you should expect many years of service, maybe even 10 to 20 years of constant daily use. But if you're constantly bending in the same spot really tight, you're banging it on stuff, or say you have a connector plugged into the bottom of the headphones and you're hitting it on things.
Yeah,
we see that occasionally.
I would back up on 10, 20 years of constant daily use. That's a lot of use. If you're talking about somebody who's traveling with something all the time.
Well, it depends on how you're using it.
I don't think I've ever seen like my laptop charge cables last more than 3 years. And that's not even like traveling. That's just in a home environment.
There's huge variation.
You know? So yeah, it really depends. And I'm not even, and I understand the rules, and they still break on me, right? So it's one of those things where it's difficult to say.
You look at something like an iPhone charge cable, the standard stock cable. So many people have those, right? And they use them over and over and over again. You see some people, they have issues with them breaking 1, 2, 3 months. That's common. People have issues. They don't last very long. Typically, my cables last 3 to 5 years before they show any signs of wear. And I use it several times a day in some cases, right?
In a home environment,
Yeah, that
depends
helps
on
a
the
lot.
environment,
Yeah, if
depends
you're
how it's
taking
used.
in your pocket.
Yeah.
Carrying
As soon as you go out,
people do
yeah.
wrap them up and stuff like
like
that.
my cable end on my iPhone gets wet in the car. I got the charge cable in the car.
Well,
It drops down onto the
yeah.
floor mat. I step on it.
Yeah.
It's done. It's done.
Yeah.
After a few weeks, it's like, oh, this thing isn't connecting all the time. It sucks. There's nothing you can do. So it's once you leave kind of like your nice, environmentally controlled home, the bets are off as to how long.
Well,
you're
then-
Yeah,
gonna
if you're taking it with you, you're
Yeah.
wrapping it up, you're jamming it in a bag.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Sure.
that's the thing, because I still have the same iPhone 5 cable that I use every day. It's just been plugged in. I just leave this new cable in the box every
Yeah.
new phone, and now I look at it, it's like it's so yellow compared to a new one. But yeah, it's just because it just sits on the desk.
My laptop
Doesn't
at
get
home now, I run magnetic. I got a really nice, and I ran through two versions of it. One failed within a year or two, but where a magnetic coupling to the laptop,
Yeah.
where it gives one piece that plugs into the what is it,
It's a
Type C?
knockoff MagSafe
Yeah,
for Type C.
yeah, but it's great.
Oh, MagSafe's
and I
back
found one that
now.
had like a good 6 or 8 pins on it. It was heavy duty, and that one's held up really well. And I've tripped on the cord a number of my wife, you name it, someone's tripped on the cord, and the laptop doesn't. It's great because it still
Right.
pops off, but it holds really well, and that mag thing isn't getting overheated from high
Yeah,
contact
yeah.
reasons. So I found it works well. You're usually going to spend a little more for it, but that was a solution for that because I got used to the MagSafe. I got used to the safety of the
Right.
MagSafe, and then they took it away from me.
Well, it's back now.
Yeah, is it?
MagSafe
Only
3.
10 years later.
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
right.
So
Yeah,
they
because
put it back in.
it just makes kind of sense.
Again, they might have had a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Same thing when they got rid of those little clip
Yeah.
things.
Well, not only that, we looked it up. I think they hold the patent on the damn thing, so why the hell not use it?
Yeah.
So
People liked it.
yeah, right. But it makes sense, and I mean that's a common. It's going to be it was a failure point with the MagSafe connector too. Right.
Now the cable's replaceable too.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
If
there
this
you
is
go.
Type C on the other
Well,
end.
that solves the whole problem.
Yeah.
So they sorted it.
Yeah, right. And at least even for think about it. Even for a company the size of Apple, look how much time it
They
takes.
thought they could get away
Yeah.
with it, but I'm sure a lot of people complained.
I
their
don't even think it
cable's
was getting
fatiguing
away
and
with it so
failing.
much. Really, it was just more like it seemed like the better way to build it at the time.
Right.
Less connections, less failure points. Cord comes out of the power supply. I get that. All right, but then you got to replace the whole $100 supply
Right.
when the freaking end phrase.
Instead of the cord.
Yeah, right, and I get that too. Everything, that's the way it is in design, right? Everything's a trade-off. You
Yep.
trade one
More
problem
cost.
for another problem.
Maybe it solves a minor problem, but it costs more.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's why they went to Type C in the first place. They're probably thinking, well, the connector's rated for a lot more insertions than what they were using before.
Yeah.
But then there's other problems.
Then you put it out in the field and you find out
Yeah.
how people can make a mess of that too.
Yeah,
'Cause
you
it
trip over it 2 or 3 times. It's probably not too happy about
probably
that.
not a good idea.
Yeah, I've had a few close calls with
Yeah.
my Type C.
Yeah,
where
and
it's
you're
like,
not even trying. It's just
Yeah.
like you know what I mean. I
Yeah,
don't
it'll happen.
It happens because you're not expecting it to happen. You're not like you're like you don't even know the cord was around your foot when you get out.
Usually it's accidental. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So anyway, that's the kind of stupid stuff we see with cables, and everyone needs to understand it. It's going to happen. Shit's going to happen.
Yeah.
The lazy boy scenario, the kids, the dog, whatever. You get another cable. It is what it is. That's the way what life is. With
Yeah.
cables.
They can last a very long time, but if you run them over with a lawnmower, well,
Yeah.
not so much.
well, that'd be
Tow a
pretty
car
bad.
with it.
That'd be pretty bad.
Things like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Or your kid decides to do it. Your 2 kids do a tug of war with it. Let's see how long we can pull this till the connector comes off. But anyway, but yeah, for the most part though, keep them dry, keep them clean, coil them up in a reasonable loop so that it's easy to just unloop. To make it really small or tight, unless you're going portable, and that's fine if that's the way you're carrying out to use it. Just expect that at some point, probably have a diminished life, but it's probably going to be years, and it's not something you got to.
It's usually not really a big deal.
Yeah, it's not, what are you going to do?
But if you want to get the most out of it, minimize how much you bend it over and over in the same spot.
Yeah, right. And then some of these cables, I mean, the molded ones and stuff like that are a little more difficult to repair. But on a lot of cables that are out there, the manufacturer might be able to repair it for you. If it breaks at one end or something like that, and can replace the connector. It might be a cost involved, but some of them are repairable. Some of them are disposable. I think a lot of the stuff that's the Chinese origin, the molded plugs, they probably just throw
Yeah,
them
usually
out.
it's not cost effective to
right,
repair.
Right. You probably got to get another one. So, but anyway, that's about it. There isn't a lot to know with cables other than try to avoid the oh shit moments. All you can
Mm-hmm.
do. Best you could do.
Yep.
We all have them. On that note, guys, take care of yourself. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to us. We just exceeded 11,000 subscribers. And we could use about 20, 30,000 more ought to do it. So if we can do that by the end of the year, that'd be great.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's
Take care.
ambitious.